What's the difference in Stephen and Jeffrey's points of view when doctors rush by during the code at the hospital? A. Stephen is calm and Jeffrey is scared. B. Stephen is scared and asks questions and Jeffrey is calm. C. Jeffrey is extremely hyper and excited and Stephen is annoyed. Which of the following two quotes from the text supports their contrasting or different responses in number 1? B. Jeffrey, what's that? Is there a fire? Should I get you out of here? D. He didn't even look away from the TV. It's just a code, Stephen. It happens all the time. E. Jeffrey and I were watching Shrek on video when all of a sudden an alarm started clanging away.
Read the following excerpt. Suddenly, I'm blinking furiously like there's something caught in my eye. Before I have this mysterious vision issue under control, I'm about 20 rows past Jeffrey, so I've missed the moment for a quick reply. Based on the above excerpt from the text, one can infer B. Jeffrey hits Stephen in the eye and it is watering. C. The sun is in Stephen's eyes, which makes them water. D. Stephen has tears in his eyes because he is emotional. The title of the novel is Drums, Girls, and Dangerous Pie because it is symbolic of A. A guy plays in a band called Dangerous Pie is attracted to girls. B. A girl group called Dangerous Pie that travels to perform for kids with cancer. Or D. A talented drummer dealing with life in middle school, including interactions with girls, after learning his younger brother has cancer. Read the following sentence. Finally, my parents were getting past the interrogation phase. Which two words have the same meaning as interrogation? Questioning, inquiry, or yelling? When Stephen writes in his journal about his talk with his grandfather back in the past, he is having a prediction, foreshadowing, or a flashback. Which quote best supports the correct answer to number 6? A. I remember when I was 8 and my mom was about to give birth to Jeffrey. My grandfather gave me a big pep talk on the way to the hospital. B. Life was going about as well as possible to be expected right up until the day of the concert. C. I'm going to be like Robin Hood. I might even get to wear a badge. The line, if he had known what was coming up for his day, he would have been begging me to smuggle him to school in my backpack. B. Demonstrates how sneaky Jeffrey is by sneaking into backpacks. C. Foreshadows Jeffrey having more fun than Stephen. D. Foreshadows Jeffrey having a bad experience at the hospital. When Mr. Alper responds to the idea of the benefit concert raising money for the family, he has a teeth-gritted grimace of a sumo wrestler about to charge and argues with Stephen. What type of figurative language is being used and how does it contribute to the text? A. It is a simile that shows Dad resented the band. B. It is a simile that shows that he hated it when Stephen taps the drums. C. It is a metaphor illustrating that it hurts his pride that he needs help providing for his family. Which piece of evidence shows that Stephen is a dynamic character, meaning that his character changed by the end of the story? A. And then it hit me. The most annoying thing in the world is my little brother Jeffrey. I used to think that having a little brother was the worst thing in the world, but now I know that not having him would be the worst. C. I had this huge drum feature in the Brian Seltzer song, and I nailed the whole thing. You're rocking the joint, kiddo. I love the triple fill-in satin doll. D. Stay with your brother, Stephen. Stay with him no matter what. Do you promise? She died without her sister by her side, but she also made sure that Jeffrey would live with his brother by his. What can we infer about Stephen based on the advice that Samantha gives? A. Stephen leaves the hospital and doesn't want to be involved with Jeffrey's treatments anymore. B. Stephen will no longer use 5A nylon tip drumsticks. D. Stephen will always stay and support Jeffrey. Which of the following pieces of evidence best demonstrates that Stephen is mad and frustrated? B. There was only one way I was communicating with the outside world at all, and that was my English journal. C. Any supposed father who doesn't even address his son, say, once a day, isn't even a father in my opinion. D. Somehow I wound up going to school day after day empty-handed. When Stephen gets knocked out of the zone, he says that one of his sticks went tumbling across the room at 90 miles per hour. Stephen uses this hyperbole to emphasize B. How fast he was playing and how quickly his sticks flipped out of his hands. C. How fast he can drive. D. How embarrassed he was in front of Renee. In the following excerpt, then I dove on those papers like Sherlock Holmes on a cappuccino binge. Stephen compares himself to Sherlock Holmes to demonstrate B. His anger at his dad. C. How much he loves detectives. D. His intense search for the papers. Read the following excerpt. And it hit me. I had been in a dream world for a day and a half. But just because you get distracted by the silver lining for a little while, that doesn't mean there is not still a huge dark cloud behind it. An idiom is a popular figure of speech. What does the idiom silver lining mean? B. The appearance of a small rim around Stephen's drumsticks. C. The positive side of a bad situation. D. When something bad happens. Jeffrey's prognosis is a little over 50%, but not by much. What does prognosis mean? B. A forecast of the likely outcome of the situation. C. The likelihood of him falling off the stool. D. The doctor's decision. Read the following excerpt. But on a brighter note, my strange tragedy-induced popularity at school was growing. Word got around that Stephen Alpert was the guy who kicked Renee Albert to the curb, and people just decided I must be the man. Based on the context of the example above, induced must mean A. Well liked by many people. B. Brought on or provoked. C. Sad or unfortunate. Read the following dialogue between Miss Galley and Stephen. Do you want me to call them before they see it? Yes, please. Please tell her I tried, please. She says she would certainly advocate for me, and then asked whether I wanted to be sent to the office for the call. The word advocate, as used in the sentence, means A. To talk badly of someone to others. B. The act of standing up for the cause or person. C. To beg for forgiveness. Read the following excerpt. Also, she's the careful driver in our family on most days, but our ride to the hospital was like the Indy 500. I didn't even have time to think of how in the world I was going to explain this away to my friends on Monday. I was mostly too busy trying to keep from passing out from the incredible G-forces every time we turned a corner. Based on the excerpt above, the reader can infer that Miss Alper, A, always drives fast because she thinks it's fun. C, is extremely worried about Jeffrey as they drive. D, is very irritated at Stephen, which makes her drive fast. All students will complete this one except for ESL students. Put these students in chronological order. A, Stephen begins to accept Jeffrey's leukemia and goes with him to the hospital. B, Stephen denies that Jeffrey has leukemia and then gets angry that his family is on vacation. C, Stephen begins to bargain to feel that he is gaining control of the situation. D, Jeffrey is diagnosed with leukemia in October. E, Jeffrey is depressed and Miss Galley tells him to focus on the things that he can change. F, Jeffrey makes dangerous pie from odd bits of food with Stephen's special sticks. Choose the sentence that correctly contrasts Renee and Annette. Remember, contrast tells the difference. B, Renee and Annette both noticed that Stephen is acting a little off the morning of Jeffrey's nosebleed incidents. Both Renee and Annette have witnessed Stephen's drumming talent. D, while Renee doesn't listen to Stephen's response, Annette genuinely takes an interest in his life and noticing when something is bothering him. What was the cause of Jeffrey's fever at the benefit concert? A, his ALL. B, an ear infection. D, nerves. Which piece of evidence best supports your answer to number 22? B, Mom, I think Jeffrey has a temp. C, I missed the highlights of my year because Jeffrey had an ear infection. D, my parents knew someone had to go rushing out of there with Jeffrey to the ER, but who? What is Stephen's solution to his family's financial problems? A, he takes extra lessons from Mr. Watrous instead of Mr. Stoll. C, he quits his drum lessons, but Mr. Stoll offers free ones. D, he rips up his mom's check and ditches his lessons. Which of the following pieces of evidence support your answer to number 24? A, my family has a lot of expenses with the hospital thing, and my parents are worried about the money, and I decided I can't have drum lessons anymore. Look, kid, from now on, your lessons are free. B, so I ripped up the check she had given me, but you have to admit the deception was for a good cause. D, all I had to do was bag my drum lessons and I'd be saving my family $80 a month. When Stephen tells Miss Galley his problems of feeling helpless, she gives him what advice that becomes the theme of the novel? A, share your feelings with any and everyone all the time. B, instead of focusing on what you can't change, why not focus on what you can change? D, if you talk, you get candy hearts. Read the following excerpt from Elizabeth St. Jude patient biography. Another visit to the pediatrician and a complete blood count confirmed her family's fears. Elizabeth suffered from acute lymphoblastic leukemia, ALL, a type of blood cancer. Her mother's thoughts raced. I thought, is this the last time I'm going to see her? Is she going to die? What does the personification example, her mother's thoughts raced, mean? B, her mother was thinking several things at one time. C, another visit to the pediatrician, a complete blood count confirmed her family's fear. D, her mother's thoughts competed against Elizabeth's thoughts. Read the following informational text about Lillian from St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Chemotherapy is never easy and we work to support the emotional well-being of patients like Lillian undergoing treatments. St. Jude is giving me my child, says her mom, Leslie. When Lillian was 5 years old, she started complaining about back pain. Because of her young age, it was assumed it was growing pains. Then, while on family vacation, Lillian went on a roller coaster, and when she got off, she was in so much pain that the vacation ended earlier. Her mom, Leslie, thought, "This is not right. It has to be something more." Leslie took Lillian to her doctor, where blood work revealed Lillian had acute lymphoblastic leukemia. The doctors immediately referred them to St. Jude. Treatments invented at St. Jude have helped push the overall survival rate from 20% to more than 80% since it opened. At St. Jude, Lillian began chemotherapy. Her cancer is now in remission, but she needs to continue receiving chemotherapy for 2.5 years so the cancer does not return. It's a long road ahead, but Leslie loves how friendly the staff is at St. Jude. It gives her a sense of security and that her child is in the right place. They're so thorough here, and they take the time to know the patient, Leslie said. St. Jude is amazing. Lillian from St. Jude and Jeffrey from Drums, Girls, and Dangerous Pie are similar because B, they are about the same age, fighting the same type of pediatric cancer. C, both of them have supported brothers that shave their heads in support. Both receive chemotherapy and neither are in remission.
Select two quotations that best support the answer to question 28. Select one quotation from each passage. B. He, Jeffrey, looked up at me with a look of total resignation that should never be on a 5-year-old face. Jeffrey had been diagnosed with ALL, which stands for acute lymphoblastic leukemia. This is from Drums, Girls, and Dangerous Pie. C. Lately, Jeffrey had been complaining a lot that his parts hurt. My mom would be taking Jeffrey to Philadelphia first thing in the morning for medical tests, from DGDP. D. When Lillian was 5 years old, blood work revealed Lillian had acute lymphoblastic leukemia. It's from the article. F. Lillian was in so much pain that the vacation ended early. The doctor immediately referred them to St. Jude, from the article.
Lillian from St. Jude and Jeffrey from Drums, Girls, and Dangerous Pie are different because B. Only Lillian lost her hair due to chemotherapy. C. Lillian's doctor referred her to St. Jude, while Jeffrey's doctor referred him to the Children's Hospital in Philadelphia. D. Lillian did not complain about anything hurting, while Jeffrey did.